Morning, everyone. This is the Wednesday, August 21st meeting of the Dunn County Planning Resource and Development Committee. Looks like the entire committee is present today, which is great. Welcome back, Carrie. So with that, we have a quorum approval of the minutes from August 7th.
I'll move approval, Mr. Chairman.
President Morehouse moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Supervisor Bureau second. Any discussion or adjustments? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Minutes are approved. Are there any public comments that came in? Anyone here? Okay. Okay. So our first item is a public hearing on the proposal to change the designation, the zoning designation of property on Highway 29 in town. We'll ask staff to, this will be a little bit unusual from our public hearings because this topic will be we're going to discuss whether we're going to take this up at a second public hearing also, but we'll have staff provide us with a overview of it and then a report, and we'll have discussion, and then we'll decide on any action or additional action we want to take at the end of that. And after staff and the committee have had some discussion, we'll invite comments from the public as well. So, Ann, can you give us the review of the?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So I'm Ann Wodarczyk. I'm the Planner Zoning Administrator for Dunn County. So I'm bringing a proposal, I guess, to the PR&D today to consider possibly rezoning the old recycling center and solid waste transfer station property. It's out on Highway 29. If people forgot, but it's still there. It just hasn't been used in a long time. But I just kind of want to preface this with, I believe that because this is county property and it is kind of a unique situation, I think this one needs a lot more time than the average rezone request. I really want to make sure that this gets a chance to go through both the town of Menominee's board and their planning commission, that any of the neighbors and other people that would be interested in this get a chance to be able to be heard and attend a hearing. So this one moved really swiftly. So I feel like I would really, really request that we have a second hearing for this one to allow for that. But of course, that is up to PR&D. So I'm going to just kind of go through this report that I provided. Again, this isn't as thorough as I'd like it to be for most rezones, but I'm just going to present it as it is. So the property is located at E3900 State Highway 29. The current zoning designation is general agriculture. And I think that after reviewing our comprehensive plan and future development objectives, and the fact that the county is considering selling the property, a rezoning could enhance the marketability and ensure that the future use of the property aligns with our long-term planning goals. So given the closure of the operation and potential property sale, I believe that looking at a zoning designation of light industrial or general commercial would be some good possibilities. So there's two buildings out there right now. One was built in 1991 and it's about just under 1,300 square feet of gross building area. This was mostly a warehouse for storage. It had a small office, restroom, and a mechanical room. And I will mention as I'm going through this that Scott is here from facilities, and I bet he knows way more about these buildings than I do. So if anyone has any questions for him. So there's a smaller building. This one was about, or is about 1,200 square feet. There is a small office space in there too. It's just one story, and it was used as a drop-off point for solid waste materials from the public. There is a semi-truck scale that's still out there, I believe. So some of the rationale behind rezoning this property, because the county's selling it, this could help it align with those future goals of our comprehensive plan. It would be a more proactive approach rather than relying on a future buyer to potentially rezone it. Um, just in lining with the comprehensive plan again. It has economic and community development potential. This could open up some industrial, commercial opportunities for economic development, job creation. It'd also be in line with our goal that's in our comprehensive plan to encourage sustainable commercial and industrial growth. And also, I believe that this would just be a good way to just proactively manage the growth in that area, which when we look at the patterns there, just due to the location of Highway 29, access to Interstate 94 and the city of Menominee, it's definitely, it's kind of ripe for that. So looking at general commercial zoning, this would be able to accommodate uses like light manufacturing, warehousing, office spaces, or a business park. There's also some flexibility with residential and agricultural areas because those can both be done on general commercial properties. If we looked at light industrial, we would have non-disruptive manufacturing as we describe it in the zoning ordinance, warehousing, and possibly professional offices. This use would align with the existing infrastructure fairly well, and it'd provide a lot of flexibility for potential uses. Some of those uses that are listed in the zoning ordinance: bottling of non-alcoholic beverages, research labs, farm machinery sales, commercial greenhouses, and others. And then again, residences are permitted on light industrial zone properties if they're accessory to a light industrial use. There also are environmental considerations for light industrial zoning. They are required to have screening materials. They're required to screen outdoor materials that are stored on the property. So if you look at the property, there's already a really thick screening of, I think, coniferous trees, evergreens. It is pretty hard to even see from 29 what's actually going on there. But I will preface that where I will add that there is a residential property nearby. So given the need for further review and input from stakeholders, I recommend that the committee take no action today and schedule another hearing for possibly September. This would allow more time for the town of Menominee, other interested parties. We could get the word out a little bit more to make sure people are aware that this is happening. So our next steps, our planning staff would conduct a more detailed analysis of the property, including current and past use, surrounding zoning, infrastructure, and potential impacts. We'd also be looking at some of the environmental effects that could possibly happen there. Town review, so the town of Menominee and their planning commission would review the rezone proposal and hopefully make a recommendation to the committee. Ideally, their recommendation would include an analysis and findings of whether this rezoning aligns with their comprehensive plan and their plan development for the area, and specifically which zoning district they feel would be best. Again, we'd have some outreach efforts, and after that, we would draft a zoning amendment, and then the final approval would be presented to the County Board of Supervisors, and that would most likely, if we follow the timeline of having the hearing in September, that could happen in October's meeting for the Board of Supervisors. So that's all I have for now. We have any questions or we want to talk about it more, I'm here. So Scott.
Do you have anything you want to add, Scott?
Nothing that I can add really. I think Ann pretty much said it all, describing what it is.
Does the committee have any questions or comments? Supervisor Morehouse.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Scott, what is facilities hoped for timeline on a potential sale? Or have you even discussed that?
I don't know that there's an actual timeline set. Obviously we decided facilities and parks committee decided that, it would be best to sell the property and as opposed to county hanging on to it. So, sooner than later, I guess.
Okay. And would the proposed sale include the adjacent ag property that we bought? Sorry,
No.
Gary.
No, it would not.
Okay. Mr. May I ask another?
Sure.
This is for Ann. Could you give me a better, better handle on the differences between general commercial and light industrial? I should have looked at the zoning. and
Oh,
I
you're-
didn't.
You're all good. I'm happy to answer that because there are a lot of overlap between the two. And oddly enough, I found some uses within our light industrial, like professional offices that I felt, really sounded like general commercial, but then again, vice versa, it kind of, we have light manufacturing and general commercial. They're pretty similar. I think with light industrial, there might be some limitations for, I believe, the residential use there that's a little more restrictive than the commercial. And then again, the light industrial requires screening of materials that are stored outdoors where the general commercial does not. So it's interesting to see that that's what's required in light industrial versus commercial. There's not a ton of difference. I will say the comprehensive plan does call out that area specifically as like commercial zoning for the future. They're not mentioning industrial too much. I added light industrial as a consideration, mostly because of that outdoor screening requirement, the similarity between general commercial and just the looking at what the infrastructure is out there and the buildings that exist now. A lot of that makes sense for a light industrial use rather than a commercial necessarily. Things like that way station, 2 buildings. So I know that probably doesn't answer. I could get into more detail. I just have to open
No,
up
that's
this
okay.
one.
That's okay, Ann. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? Mike?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So Ann, have you contacted Tonominama yet?
So I sent out basically a version of this report to the town clerk, doing like an official request for opinion and recommendation. So I think that was sent out last week or early this week. Essentially, it's very similar to this document, just really spelling out like how important their opinion would be to us if we were to look at this and just letting them know that the PRND is considering this.
I'm just so I can visualize it. The property south of town on the highway, is that 25? Going down towards Durant? No,
This property or
talk about in
different?
general, Menominee and the development that's on highway, is it Highway 25 that goes to Durant?
Yeah.
South out of
Yeah.
town. It's in the town of Menominee. It's all developed and I'm wondering do you know what the zone, that's an example of what something would look like potentially. Is that commercial or I'm guessing it's probably commercial. Do you know?
I actually don't know off the top of my head,
Okay.
but it could be something if we do have another hearing for this, I could look into that and
See,
we could present that as part of this.
I could just add to that, there's a lot of general commercial in there, but because of as time goes on, things get mixed up. But I don't think the town of Menominee has any light industrial at this time.
right, that's what I'm getting at. Yeah. Any other questions? So, yeah, oh, Gary, I'm sorry.
Is that, building south of the transfer station, is that still going, do you know, or not?
Are you talking about I think it was a landfill that's out there?
Yeah, there's a landfill
Yeah.
south of it.
So that's been discontinued. I believe that there's still maybe like a trailer out there that's supposed to be removed from the property, but yeah, that's been closed. I think, when did they close, Scott? 2023, 22? Somewhere in there?
It was not long after we discontinued the solid waste and recycling program.
So, just a tactical or question, and, would it be, you think it's preferable for us to, uh, complete this hearing and then schedule another hearing? Or to just continue this hearing? I don't know if it makes any difference practically. I guess if we do a new hearing, you have to post and all that. If we just continued it, then you'd have more flexibility.
That is an excellent point. So if we decided to continue this, just, not officially close it, but just reopen it again, I believe on the next, whatever meeting date, as long as you pick a specific date,
Right.
we wouldn't have to worry about noticing it in the newspaper. I wouldn't have a problem with renoticing it just because I do feel like in the general interest of the public that it would be good transparency for us to kind of keep that.
Yeah, that's a good
So
point.
either way, I think would work just fine.
I think that's a good point, though. Okay, anyone from the public care to comment on this? Okay. If that's all, then I will close the hearing. I guess I'll close the hearing. And we'll go to, without objection, we'll go to item 9A, which is a discussion of action on the proposed zoning designation. And I guess the consideration would be that what I'm hearing is that our consideration is that we would postpone taking any action at this time. Could I have a motion to that effect from someone, if that's agreeable?
I will move approval of postponing this decision until after a second hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Monica. All right. Any discussion? Okay, then we will, oh yeah, there is that, isn't there? All in favor of postponing action, say aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, the committee, after closing the hearing, decided that we will take no action at this time on the item. Do you have any, I guess it's up to you then, as to when you think that, it only makes any difference to us when it's rescheduled. But I think since you're wanting to have enough time, you should take enough time.
Yeah, I think with just, even if we had it in the beginning of September, I still don't feel like that would allow enough time. I don't know
No,
when the
right.
town planning commission meets. I don't think it's that first week, so I think I would suggest maybe the September 18th.
Okay. Is there, are we on any kind of time frame for the sale of the property? Scott, do you know?
We are not on a specific time frame. We would like to obviously get it moved sooner than later. We just want to get this explored to see what we can do before making it.
So, okay, great. So, Ann, why don't we say the 18th? Is that okay with folks? If it makes sense, I don't know if you're gonna reach out to town folks and see
Yeah,
if they have enough time to do it.
I just want to get confirmation from them
Right.
that they're
'Cause you're
able to
talking about the
meet.
planning committee too, and they
Yeah.
have to meet.
Yeah, just to
Okay.
make sure that they're able to meet well before that, so we have all the information. Even if we did end up scheduling it for, would it be October 2nd meeting for PRND, we would still have possibly a decision made in time to get that on the Board of Supervisors agenda for October.
Right.
So we'll be
Okay.
talking about it.
Okay. Well, let's move on then. Staff reports, Register of Deeds, Mr. Carlson.
So Tom, Heather messaged me right before the meeting and mentioned that she had a conflict with something else. So she's not here in attendance. I'll bring her report up. She said if there's any questions, she'd be happy to answer them after. So her report is up here on the screen.
Are there any questions on the report that anyone wants to ask Heather to get back to us on? Okay. Environmental Services. I guess you're up, Tom.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So my report is up on the screen. I don't have anything to add. It's been another busy month of July. We took in 13 certified survey maps. You can see the totals up there. Sand Creek led the way, which is kind of unusual, 11 new parcels that are proposed there. Chewing up about 117 acres along Highway 64. So I don't have anything to add unless there's any questions.
It's a pleasure, Kinnear.
Thank you very much. Are they all unrelated? And I'm curious in Sand Creek. I looked at those 11.
So it's 120 acres that recently sold. A development company from out of town within the state bought it. And they are, well, they're doing certified survey maps on each one of the 40s. So they're allowed 4 lots per 40 in a 5-year period. So they're maxing out their number of lots, and then they're going to follow that. Once the certified survey maps are recorded, one of those maps, they're going to take one of the lots and do a county subdivision plat. That is the plan right now. We haven't received anything, and they're going to make, I want to say it was another four or 5 lots out of that. So when they're all said and done, there'll be around 16 lots out there. It's currently undeveloped land. It was recently logged. It has, all 3 of the 40s have frontage along Highway 64. One of them also has double frontage on a town road, a dead-end town road. So, yep.
So it looks like in the future that there'll be further development and housing in the area there.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And one comment for the group. Tom listed down here that he's on the ERP Planning Committee, Enterprise Resource and Planning Committee. I've attended a couple of those, and I just got to say that Tom and so many other people are putting in a huge amount of time in that, in addition to what they're doing for their job. I didn't understand how complicated and how detailed it was. So just thanks, Tom, and I don't know Heather, everybody else that's involved with that. That's done a great job.
And Tracy, our recording secretary, is also on one of the pit crews. So,
Any other questions? Okay. Who's next? Is that Ann?
Me. Yeah, so I should mention that Tracy is also, she's on one of the pit crews for ERP, and I know she's been putting some time into that. I've been really impressed with the level of detail that that group has been getting into. So just an operational update. So Lily joined our team as a program assistant on July 29th. She is here right now. I'm just gonna point her out and embarrass her. So she'll be working with us, you know, basically filling kind of some of that Janet Riedel role and then some other things too. She has a background in geology. She's familiar with ArcGIS and mapping and things like that. So we're really excited to have her. There was one other thing I was going to mention. So we did officially agree with the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission to kick off our comprehensive plan work in September. And then the PRND, of course, will be our plan oversight committee, and I will continue to bring updates as they come. The ADU zoning ordinance, as the PRND committee knows, was passed. We've been working on just kind of figuring out how we're going to permit those and getting some guidelines established, and looking forward to seeing the first ADU. And that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions, Mike?
Thank you. And I'm just a little confused down under where it says amendment to zoning ordinance. It says the Board of Adjustment approved the proposed amendment to the comprehensive zoning ordinance.
Thank you for calling out my very obvious mistake.
Oh.
Thank you. That should have said the Board of Supervisors.
Okay,
Um,
thanks.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you for pointing that out, though. I must be running on fumes here. But yeah, that should be Board of Supervisors.
So there was a Board of Adjustment meeting yesterday?
No, not yesterday. So we had one, so the one that I'm speaking to was on Monday. So I could
Okay.
update you with what happened with
Yeah,
that
could
one,
you?
since that just happened. Yeah, so there was a variance application from the property owner, Peter Grutzmacher. He owns Jake's Supper Club. I'm sure most of you are familiar with. So they have been working on just kind of updating the property, repairing some things, doing some expansions. The property is really limited between the two roadways and the Red Cedar River. So this is their second variance request that has come through this year. The first one was for a small addition to the dining room area. And now this one, they were looking to originally replace some of the outdoor seating, the decks that they have out there. They're on various levels and there's a lot of stairs, and these decks have been there for a long time. I believe the original variance to allow them was in 1992. So with that variance, they're allowed to replace those wooden decks and repair them as needed. But after kind of looking at the project more, they wanted to go in a direction of creating more of a concrete patio rather than decking area. So in order to do that, they needed to come back for another variance to the shoreline setback. So they wanted to reduce it from 75 feet to 35 feet. And they were approved for that with the condition that they would work with staff to do some impervious surface mitigation, stormwater work, and we got pretty specific in there. They'll also be expanding the vegetative buffer between the river and the property. And if you've been out there, there's really not a whole lot right now. It's just grass. And they've struggled with, a lot of foot traffic kind of keeping that grass from growing in a lot of areas. And just due to the soil, it's been tough for them to establish anything. So they'll be working with Tammy Traxler from our office to establish that.
Thank you. Chase is not with us. We have a good substitute.
Chase is not able to come today, so I'm Tina Barone. I'm one of his conservation planners. So I'm here representing land conservation today. He submitted the report. If you have any questions, I'll try to do my best to answer them.
So we have Chase's report. Any questions for Tina? You guys been busy?
Tina, I don't know if you can answer this, but I'm just curious about the technical projects, closing up the wells and the manure storage facilities. Does that start from complaints or can you answer any of that or?
Yeah, so it depends. So one, there was a concern with a dog falling in a well, and that's where that came from. That's how we got connected with that person. Sometimes we just drive by, and usually if you see a windmill over an old well, then we will know that that's where it is, and we'll reach out, make a phone call, write a letter, whatever. And then as far as manure storage, closing those old structures, a lot of times, again, that's just, we can see it on the aerial photo, or we can drive by it and we see it. And then we reach out and try to close those. Generally with those two things, it's not complaints. Complaints are usually more manure related, erosion related. That's where those ones come from.
What kind of reception do you get when you contact them, ask them about it?
About the wells and the manure pit closures. Sometimes people respond right away and they say, oh, I've been wanting to get rid of that pit. It's just in the way, I'm not using it. And they're really grateful and they call you right away. Other ones, I've had them call me 2-3 years after I sent it. And they're like, actually, I'm interested in that now. Sometimes you just get ignored. It varies. But for every 10 we send out, maybe we get 2 responses fairly quickly back. Not a great response usually, but it doesn't take that long to write a letter.
And are those all for cost shared?
Yes, those would all be cost shared.
Okay. I assume there are a lot more wells sitting around out there than,
There are a lot of wells out there. But some people want to keep their wells around, even if they're not using them, because I might be able to use it for watering livestock at some point. I might want to build a house there someday. So sometimes people are hesitant to close those wells. So that would be the hardest part about closing wells, would be convincing people that it would be a good idea to close them. And why that's a good idea is because we've got basically a direct conduit for any type of surface contaminants to get down into our groundwater. So that's why we're trying to get them to close those.
it sounds like with the dog situation, there was an actual dug well
It was a dog well.
open.
The dog is just fine.
Oh, I didn't want to ask that. Well, thank you. That's very interesting.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for asking. Unless there are any other questions, Chase also asked me to just explain a little bit about where we're at with the producer-led watershed groups. So I think, yeah, there we go. We're going. So I just put together a few pictures to show you what we've been up to and just a brief overview. Let's see, hopefully it loads. There we go. So there are 2 different producer-led watershed groups in the county. There's the Hay River Farmer-Led Watershed Council, and we actually just had a pretty exciting event on Monday night. We did 2 different pasture walks on the same night, and then we also served a meal in between. And we had about 14 people show up. We have some really experienced people who have been grazing for a while, and we had some new people too. So that was a really fun event, and I see increasing interest in grazing. So I anticipate that we may be moving toward having more events like this in the future. These are just some pictures from the pasture walk. We also did have 2 young women that came too with their grandma. So that was pretty exciting to see the next generation looking at what we might do. The other group that I facilitate for is the Red Cedar Conservation Farmers, and they've had 3 different events. They had a research event where they presented on the results from the research that we started last year and continue into this year on nitrogen. And then they also had a spring grower meeting where we had UW Extension come and talk about their phosphorus stratification in the soil study. And then we also had Chris Wilger from the DNR come in and present on land conservation has been, with the support of the Red Cedar Conservation Farmers, with funding from DATCAP and DNR, and using MDV funds, sampling streams in this watershed and also a few outside. And so Chris came to talk about what we're seeing so far in the results we've collected. Kind of last year was really a baseline. We set up the baseline, and so now we might actually start to see trends, since last year was kind of just setting up that this is where it's at. So we don't have too many answers yet on stream sampling and what we really have out there, but hopefully it will continue. Then also we got some money through the Nature Conservancy grant to offer nitrogen stabilizers. So we had actually a representative from Corteva come and talk to us about those stabilizers, the benefits, some of the different things that go into the different products. It was very interesting. And then also back in June, we had a field day where we actually looked at the nitrogen stabilizers. We had a demo looking at what those actually do when you use them. And then also we went to the field and looked at some different things that we saw from our research plots. We also had an interesting event earlier this year where Secretary Romansky from DADCAP came and visited one of the board members from Red Cedar Conservation Farmers Farm. And we talked about the different DADCAP programs and ag in general, and some of the things we struggle with and some of the things that we see being positive. In the future, we will probably be applying for 3 different grants. Well, 2 different producer-led watershed grants, possibly 2 Nature Conservancy grants, and then a nitrogen optimization pilot program grant to do additional nitrogen research in the watershed. Does anybody have any questions?
Just wondering, how do you publicize the field days and things like that?
Recently, I've been trying to utilize Krista and get those posted to our county Facebook page. And then I try to put up the flyers at John Deere, at the different places that Lindstrom Equipment, different places that I might catch farmers. Also, if like the thing is going to be up by Colfax, I'll go up by Colfax, post it at the gas station. But I am open to other ideas of how to publicize that. With the research results, also Tristan Beyer, who's one of our board members, he was interviewed by The Farm. It's a radio station out of Eau Claire, and we got him on the radio for that. So a little quick spot to try to drum up more interest and get the word out. And The Farm has been very receptive to that. She actually came to our event as well. So I anticipate in the future, especially for longer term, like things that we can plan pretty in advance, that we might be able to tap into that as well.
Really nice to see the focus on grazing expanding in the area. Really happy to see that. Good for you. I do know that Extension has told us that the regional extension, the 3 counties we're part of that they're going to be hiring they had a dairy specialist, but they're going to be hiring a beef specialist. So potentially we'll have somebody who maybe knows something about grazing to help with that. Anything else? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Then, if it's okay with
Yeah, why
you,
don't you go ahead and
I'd like to introduce,
put them on the spot here.
I'd like to introduce our intern, Caden Erickson. Want to get up there. He's been just so inspiring to have here as part of our land conservation group, and he's so excited, and he gives me hope for the future of conservation, and I hope that I have brainwashed him enough to come join a land conservation department somewhere. I'll let you have the floor, Caden. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. I appreciate that. Yeah, so again, Caden Erickson, I was Dunn County's summer intern this year. And just with this whole presentation, kind of been going back and forth. I've been out doing so many different things this summer, and I have like a little bit of an internship review to pass out afterwards. I don't know. I didn't want to interrupt the meeting, but afterwards, come get one. But I have a folder of over like 250 pictures on different things, different projects, different people, different places that I've been and things that I've done. So it was pretty hard to kind of narrow down what I was going to be presenting on. I have so many fun little pictures and nitbits to kind of tie everything up for the summer, as this is my last week. But so enjoy some of these fun pictures throughout the presentations, kind of just more so some of my favorite things that I've done, some of the really neat things that not a lot of people get to experience so far, kind of getting a sneak peek in everybody else's life that I've been with this summer. So it's a little bit about me, just kind of before we proceed, but I'm originally from Colfax, Wisconsin, just down the road over here. So it's kind of nice to be in this Midwestern part of the state, but I go to Hamlin University in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm an environmental studies major with a biology minor and a field study emphasis. So I play baseball for college over there at Hamlin University in the city. So that keeps me real busy when I'm not doing all my schoolwork and stuff, and figured I'd throw in just a couple fun pictures of some of my family members, some of my buddies that I go to school with, and just kind of
Vipers.
Vipers, yes, sir. So just kind of a little bit of fun there, before we get going. So originally when I had applied for this summer internship, I guess I really didn't know what I was getting myself into, and how beneficial it would turn out to be for me. Obviously, I was excited to get going with this internship. Originally, I had kind of thought, oh, just with the county, kind of doing a little bit of stuff with Landmark Conservancy, which hello to everybody in the back over there. Thank you for coming today. And then with John at the NRCS. It kind of turned more into a little bit of a three-way internship, which was really nice. I was doing stuff with the county on a day-to-day, doing stuff with John every now and then here, and then with Landmark Conservancy as well. Plus a little bit of DNR work tied in there, and you'll kind of see as I go out through this presentation, just kind of like the smorgasbord of different things that I've been out doing. So kind of to start off here, just with the LWCD while we're here in the Dunn County, building, and this is a PRND meeting for the county. But obviously, a lot of different stuff here. I just want to point out that little fun staff picture we took recently. It's kind of just a neat little thing. I want to include everybody in there, even though not everybody is here. Obviously, did a lot of different pasture walk stuff, kind of going off of what Tina had originally said earlier, but meeting with different farmers, kind of seeing how they do things, what I can learn from them, how I can learn to conversate with them, and hopefully get them to where we would like, different processes to go with manure pits or waterways, things like that. Stream and well sampling was extremely fun too, going off in these different parts of the county, meeting new people, kind of seeing what their take is on the different water that's around them in the ground. Super interesting to see. And then kind of recently I've been going out on construction with Tina and Heather of the Dunn County office, kind of seeing how these grass waterways are put in, kind of getting out there, taking some shots, plotting some points on some GPSs, and as well as kind of seeing a plethora of manure pit closures, as well as seeing stuff that they had originally or just recently put in. Obviously, there's a lot of farms here in Dunn County, so there's a lot of manure pits. Really interesting to see how all that happens with them getting closed up and or them getting built and how they get funding to do so. Yeah. Couple more fun little pictures here. So kind of going off again with the manure pit closures, kind of being on site with our county engineer, seeing how that process goes, getting the contractors out there, what that takes to bury said manure pits and or, kind of get them out of commission if they hadn't been used. Taking shots with dumpy levels and things like that. Really neat to see. And recently, I figured, Tom, give you a little shout out in here, but I just went with Tom on Monday here to see kind of what the Dunn County surveying crew does and how they go about their business. And it's really neat. And I can say this about anybody in this room that I've worked with or out of this room that I've worked with, but that's their everyday life. And I was kind of just fortunate enough to get in and see what they do from a day to day. And everybody that I worked with this summer was, extremely jazzed to have me out there with them. And, I can learn so much from them. And it's kind of hard to put a whole summer's worth of experience into a 10 to 15 minute presentation. So obviously at the end with any questions, I hopefully be able to answer them. But and then kind of jumping into the NRCS, John Sipple was kind of my main contact over there and his whole crew. Obviously, a lot of different things going on at the NRCS. Super neat to see more of a voluntary thing with people that are working with them, which is kind of a change from the more regulatory work that the county does, kind of seeing both sides of that. Here, I learned a lot about the different the programs that the NRCS has, and it's super interesting to see what type of funding they can get for these different farmers, these different people that want to improve their land, any which way that they want to go, and how John and his crew maneuver through that and try and help people out as best as they can. Was out on a couple different sites, checking out different forests that people were wanting to either get logged, get funding for that, put barns in, checking the soil, as you can kind of see some of those pictures with excavating the pits, learning more about soils, agriculture, more so with the different tools that farmers use and how they go about their different seasons and their different crop rotations and things like that. It's very interesting to me. I have a little bit of a background in that, growing up on a farm in Colfax, but obviously there's so much more to learn, and John's taught me quite a bit about that stuff, same with his whole crew. Landmark Conservancy in the back. Good to see everybody back there. I'm glad you could make it. kind of like my third little piece of the three-way internship was Landmark Conservancy. As you can kind of see, I've done state work, federal work, and then private organization work. Obviously, a lot of different things. I've gone out different DNR field days with them, peregrine falcon banding, looking at different timber rattlers kind of out on the Maiden Rock Bluffs. Plant identification is a big one. I am not extremely versed in a lot of different plant identification. So Katie Hahn back there has been a wizard with the plant identifications, kind of getting me on track for that with different books and different learning lessons while we're out in the field. Going around to different land easement properties that they have throughout the state and kind of seeing what these people had put in their land easements and, going and monitoring them and making sure that, what they put in a land easement is staying in a land easement. Obviously, you don't want anybody messing around with stuff, building different things. So going out there and checking and making sure that it's all good. And it's really interesting to see and kind of going around, like for me personally, this Midwestern part of the state, they're different properties, but I've worked with people in their other office, in their Bayfield office, and they've came down and we've had a couple different field days and stuff like that. So it's really neat to see, go out and talk to folks, see what different chunks of land look like that are in these land easements and what people find valuable to put in them. Kind of with that plus DNR section up above or in some previous slides, I kind of did. Let me start from the beginning. Whenever I had first taken this internship, Chase had kind of told me it's a choose your own adventure internship. Obviously, I have my internship goals, things that I had to do throughout the summer to kind of achieve things for the county, for these different organizations that I'm working with. But, he said it's on me to learn as much as I wanted to and go and experience as many things as I wanted to. So I kind of took that, as like, let's see how many things I can pack into my week schedule and how many things I can pack into my day schedule. Obviously, a lot of longer days, but I would do it all again. Obviously, learning as much as I can while I was here. But with that, I took the liberty to reaching out to a lot of different folks, and a lot of those folks are DNR people. And I was able to go out and look at different timber operations throughout the county here. I see a lot of the equipment, learn more about it with the regional forester, Matt Molback, kind of going out with him and understanding, again, what his day-to-day looks like, what I can pick up from him, and obviously kind of give me a better idea of what a lot of these people do in this area. So with that DNR thing, I have gone a couple days with the Fish and Game, and I've done a lot of cool stream shocking. Just yesterday, I was out all day in the Kinney River and River Falls shocking brook trout. Kind of neat. It's just kind of ties back to the behind the scenes work that all these organizations are doing. And kind of, everybody says, oh, that's really neat. Oh, that's really cool. And it is. It's awesome. And I love it. But it kind of goes to show that, a lot of people aren't really understanding of what Dunn County is doing or Landmark Conservancy or the NRCS or the DNR is doing. They kind of just see the finished product. And obviously there's a lot of different things in all of our different projects that we're all working on that it takes step by step to get there. So I was fortunate enough to go out with these Fish and Game employees and kind of wade in the water and get a little bit of wet and see some big fish. And I think throughout the summer, all these different experiences that I've been doing have kind of opened my eyes a lot. And I think for me, especially, I feel that I'm in the right place. Obviously Dunn County, Landmark Conservancy, NRCS, the DNR, they have all kind of pushed me and reassured me that, I chose the right degree path. And for me, that, makes me feel a little bit warm and fuzzy, it feels good. So, and I just kind of added like some random fun picture section within this presentation. We can go back and look at them later, but just I wanted to add a couple of them, just kind of different people that I've been out with and things that we've done. There's my little office. We had a little mustache day. I thought that was kind of fun. I thought I'd put that in there. Grilling hot dogs, not a lot to complain about this summer. Learned a lot, met a lot of folks. They taught me a lot, and I'm very fortunate that I was able to get this internship, and I'm able to present to the committee and everybody else here today. So special thank you to the Dunn County Alliance. They're kind of the people that have put the funds towards this internship and have allowed me to make a little bit of money while I'm out here. And obviously the money's not the big thing, but it's the experience. And thank you to them, and then thank you to everybody that's in this room or not out of this room, like Ed said earlier, that kind of helped me get to where I'm at. And I learned quite a few things, and I wish you know, I kept a journal every single day for what I was doing. And that journal is jam packed. I think it's a document of like 70 pages or so, just as being as thorough as I possibly could. And if anybody wants that and wants to read it, like, have at it, let me know. I'll share it with you. But there's just so much in there. And I wish I could, you know, talk for an hour, or if you'd let me, I could, if you got any questions, and we can really get going on that. But again, you know, thank you for everybody. And, you know, I'm glad I was able to present today. So if anybody's got any questions.
Yeah, any questions or comments?
I would just say thank you for this lovely communication and for sharing what you've learned and for obviously reading Chase's note, for contributing mightily to the work of the county. So we appreciate you and best of luck.
Thank you.
Come on back.
Yeah, and
Tina said.
see what happens. You know?
Anybody else? Anything else? Yeah. Good work.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And again, too, I have kind of like my little write-up reflection
Yeah,
too.
please. Share the ones.
I'll set them around the room, or maybe I'll wait till the
Just
meeting.
send them
done.
around. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thanks. Good.
Anything you want to say, John?
Yeah.
Sure. Right, there you go.
I'm gonna say thank you to Caden. It's been a pleasure working with you, Caden. It's every year we have an intern. Last year was Hunter, this year's Caden. It's been previous in the last 10, 12 years here. It's a breath of fresh air to have a young person coming into our offices. Reconnects you with reunites that passion within you to why you did this, why you started your career 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So thank you, Caden, for bringing that fire back to me. I'm going to probably reiterate that same thing for Chase. Landmark staff back there too, having a young person, energetic, willing, wanting, asking the right questions is huge from our standpoint too. So thank you for re-establishing that fire within our agencies.
Sure. Anything else from anybody? Any, see, any I missed here in the agenda? I think we've dealt with everything. Any announcements? Okay. Our next meeting is September 4th, and we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
So Anne and Diane and Monica especially.